What's good, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Clutch Scoops. As usual, Tomer Azarly here with my buddy Brett Siegel. How you doing, buddy? You doing over there okay with the
I thought you
weather?
were going to forget my name for a second. I was getting worried.
Bam Adebayo going for 83 points. Still surprises me and shocks me. Bam Adebayo, Miami Heat star, went for 83 points against the Washington Wizards on Tuesday night. Phenomenal game. I think he had 31 in the first quarter, 62 points through three, and scored 21 points in the fourth quarter. I thought it was a great showing. I know you have a lot of opinions about this, Brett, so I will open the floor to you. What do you think about Bam's 83-point game?
Out of all the players in the NBA, I don't think Bam Adebayo would have even been on my top 100 list of guys that could maybe pass Kobe's 81-point performance. And it's a remarkable achievement. I think that there's two sides of this, and I respect both sides' viewpoints, and I kind of share viewpoints on both sides of these. So let's start with the good. I think that 83 points should be celebrated. I think that this is a historic moment for the NBA. It's a historic moment for a great player in Bam Adebayo. Let's not discredit what he has done in this league. Obviously, he's not the same level scorer as a Devin Booker or an Anthony Edwards type player, but he's an all-star in his own right. He's a two-time gold medalist, and he's one of the better players in this league. So I think that we should appreciate what he did on that night. And it's one of those moments that you're going to look back on and not forget where you were. I mean, everybody remembers Kobe's final game. Everybody remembers Kobe's 81 points and different historical performances like that. This had the same kind of impact where people around the nation, guys in locker rooms, guys at games, were stopped in their tracks and they were watching what was happening during the second half of this game. And it's not like that this whole stat padding thing that everybody's talking about happened throughout the entire game, because he had 31, 33 points after the first quarter. And then at halftime, he had over 50 points. After the third quarter, I think it was like 63, 64 points.
At halftime, he had 43 points.
43.
31 after one and 62 after three.
Okay, so it's not like that this entire game he was chasing free throws, which we're going to talk about shortly with that disaster of a fourth quarter. But that what happened during halftime, what happened after the third quarter, that was all a remarkable achievement. Any guy that has 60 points on 50% shooting after three quarters, I think that's a remarkable achievement. And then obviously he ends with 83, the second highest scoring game in NBA history, only behind Wilt. Lakers fans are going to be sour about it because he passed Kobe Bryant, but I think that this is a very historic moment, Tomer. So I'm going to throw it back to you for the positive, and then we'll get into the fourth quarter of this game.
It could have been much worse. I mean, the Heat took him out with 1:40 left, if I'm not mistaken. So if they really wanted to stat pad, they could have left him in even longer, kept fouling, kept bringing up the score, trying to get him to 90 points. So they didn't do that. So on one level, Bam Adebayo is a fantastic player. I think very underrated in this league. He's not scoring on that level again. It's safe to say. I think you have one of those out-of-body experiences. He has 30 points in the first quarter. I think he joined like Kevin Love and Klay Thompson as the guys who do that recently. And those guys are, you consider scorers and shooters. Bam was not that. I think his career high for threes in a game, I think, was 6 coming into the game, and he had 5 in the first quarter. This is just one of those, heat checks that he got hot. Might as well ride that, go all the way. And, that fourth quarter, he did shoot a lot of free throws. But I saw, if you go back and watch the film, Washington was not playing great defense. I mean, they were trying to triple team him. They were hacking. They were doing whatever they could to try and get the ball out of his hands, or at least not get him to shoot the ball. And so maybe you should look at Washington. I think, we always talk about, at the end of a game, if you let someone score a basket a basket with the time running out, if you don't want him to score, you should probably guard them. Well, I think the Washington Wizards have done the same. Should have guarded Bam Adebayo better if you didn't want him to score 80 points on you. When you look at it, Bam Adebayo had fewer points in the fourth quarter than Kobe did in his 81-point game, and Wilt Chamberlain did in his 100-point game. It's not like it was super shameless. They were just trying to get him to a certain number that he probably wasn't going to get there again. Wilt was scoring at an all-time level. I think he averaged 50 for a season or two. Like, he was scoring like that. Kobe had gotten 62 through 3 before. Like, he was scoring like that. Bam Adebayo is probably not going to do that again. I think it's safe to say. I have no problem with it. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was fun. I thought some of the takes coming out over the last couple of days have been downright miserable. I don't know if people just don't enjoy the game, because if you ask me, I think if this is Steph Curry or LeBron or Anthony Edwards or Wemby or Shea, like, I don't think anyone's having an issue with it. I don't think anyone's complaining nearly to this level. And because it wasn't pure hoops, jump shots, step backs, and all this, people have a problem with it. So good for Bam. congrats to Bam. I'm happy for him. That's awesome to see. I hope someone breaks his 83 with 45 free throws. I just put up numbers because that's really, really hard to do. You know the amount of work it takes to just have that much stamina to take
catch your
40
breath
shots
at
in
the
a
free
game?
throw line and have 10 seconds to take your shot.
The guy's jersey and shorts are two different colors based from how drenched he is. That takes so much stamina. I don't think people understand that. It takes so much energy. I think he played the entire second half. So screw it. Go get your 83, man. I love it.
Was there stat padding? Absolutely. Was there stat padding in Kobe's game? Yeah. Was there stat padding in Wilt's game? Yeah, there was. The stat padding wasn't the problem necessarily. What I have a problem with, Tomer, is when there's 4 minutes or 3 minutes left in a game and you're up 25 on the Washington Generals, who are in last place in the NBA, and then you start fouling them intentionally to try to get this guy, not necessarily shots, but to get him to the free throw line, to delay the game further, and then you go through the same thing again. That's what I had a problem with, and that's why I was laughing throughout the final 3-4 minutes of this game. I started texting a bunch of guys, scouts. I was even texting one player in the league, and he was basically saying that he was shaking his head in the locker room watching it, that he couldn't believe that they were fouling him with 3 minutes left, fouling the Washington Generals, so they would go to the line to try to extend the game. So I think that's where the biggest problem lies, and I put blame on Eric Spoelstra for that. I think that to do that is just not right. I think that it took away the ethics of basketball, and it just wasn't the display that the NBA probably necessarily wanted. But again, this is what happened, and the Washington Generals are just bad, and I know that.
What are the ethics of basketball?
You don't foul a team when you're up 26 points in the fourth quarter. Why are you fouling? Just to get your guy to the free throw line?
Once in a lifetime chance to get 80 points.
I don't care. You have to take into account that there
no,
are
you don't.
certain.
No,
yes,
you don't. You're never doing this again. No, you don't. No, you do not.
I'll put it this way.
80.
There could have easily been a fight on that court. If you put one of these guys, like let's say Isaiah Stewart or some other hothead in the league was on the court for Washington in this game, do you think that would have happened? It probably would have escalated to a point that the NBA would not have wanted.
You should have defended him better, not even let him get to that point. That's all I got to say.
I agree, but why are you
fouling
fouling a team up 26 points? You don't do that.
Okay, so Washington was shooting free throws, sure, to stop the game. They were fouling them right back.
Who?
It's not like Bam was...
Yeah, but Washington wasn't intentionally fouling Bam. He wasn't crossing half court, and they weren't just wrapping him up to send him to the free throw line.
They should have guarded him better. I have no issue with Eric Spoelstra doing what he did. Get your guy 80 points because it's probably not going to happen
No,
again.
I agree. I sit on both sides here. Like, if I was Eric Spoelstra, I would have done it too. But there's a certain side of it that's like, it's just not good basketball. And that's why people are complaining about it, of him shooting this many free throws, 43 free throws, compared to Kobe in his performance. He only had 20. So this is how I look at it, Tomer. I think that both performances are historic in their own right. Kobe scored 81. Bam finished the game with 83, and that's what I'm going to leave it at.
Like I said earlier, I think if Shea did this, if LeBron did this, if Steph did this, people would not have an issue the way they do with Bam. And, you know, NBA record 43 free throws. I think he broke Dwight Howard's record of 39 in the game. Look, it's a lot of free throws. It's a lot of free throws. That end was rough to watch. I'm not going to lie, but you have a chance to make history or climb up the leaderboard like that. Something we haven't seen in 20 years. 20 years and 2 months. You do it. I'm all for it. Excited for Bam. Congrats to him. I'm excited to see what he puts up tonight or tomorrow, whatever he plays. You know, he dropped 20 points. He's averaging 50 over his last 2 games. So excited to see that. Moving on to another big headline from this week. Brett, I know you're very excited about this one when we talked about this one. The Hawks planned a very special Magic City night on March 16th, next week. Plan to give out hoodies, ticketed fans. They were also selling the hoodies for $125 once they saw how much the demand was for it. Magic City, if you're not familiar, is a very
prestigious,
it's a well-known establishment, prestigious establishment in the Atlanta area. It is a very very well-known restaurant as well as gentleman's club. And so, I think when we saw this, when I saw this, I was like, oh, shoot, I might want to get a hoodie. Like, that's kind of cool. I remember back in the bubble when Lou Williams left the bubble, there were reports that he went to Magic City to grab the wings. Like, they were that good. And I know that was part of his, grieving process or whatever. But, hey, man, I've heard nothing but great things about Magic City and their food. And so the other part of it, I'm not really too familiar with. But the NBA decided to cancel Magic City night the other day. With a lot of pushback from fans. Well, I wouldn't say fans, a lot of pushback from players. And I would say one player in particular. and that is San Antonio Spurs big man Luke Cornett.
The most
In a
hated man in
quote,
Atlanta now, by the way.
and a quote from Luke Cornett in a post I believe he put on Medium, that the NBA should desire to protect and esteem women, many of whom diligently work every day to make this the best basketball league in the world. We should promote an atmosphere that is protective and respectful of the daughters, wives, sisters, mothers, and partners that we know and love. Allowing this night to go forward without protest would reflect poorly on us as an NBA community, specifically in being complicit in the potential objectification and mistreatment of women in our society. Um, I kind of see both sides to this, but I actually thought it was kind of a lighthearted, fun way to celebrate a pretty well-known and popular place in Atlanta. Brett, I'm sure you have thoughts on this, given how excited you were to add this topic to our schedule. What's your take on all this?
I just want to know what's going to happen with the hoodies. Like, are people getting these hoodies? Because I know that there were players around the league that were trying to get them and trying to buy them. Tomer, do you know if they're still giving these out?
As far as I know, I believe any hoodies that were pre-ordered, the Atlanta Hawks announced that any hoodies that were pre-ordered will be fulfilled. Those orders will be fulfilled, and they'll get them. And then I'm guessing any ones that they plan to use in the arena to give away to fans will be part of those orders. But it's no longer available for purchase. You can't find it on the website. It's no longer available, which is a little bit of a bummer. But yeah, it's still available for those who ordered it. They will be receiving those Magic City Night hoodies that you see in the photo right there. So people will get them, and they will be very, very limited. There will be a very limited object, or
those things are going to be sold on
whatever you
eBay
call it.
as a rare item for like $350, and there are going to be people that wind up buying them because it was a canceled NBA sponsored event, whatever you want to call it. Magic City Night in Atlanta. Are they gonna have the wings at the game? Like, or is just everything off the table? Like, they're just not gonna do anything.
I thought it was an interesting promotion. Like, I think fans were excited about. But once the NBA canceled
They were gonna
it,
sell
and once
out. It was
that
gonna
much
be a sold out
attention,
game.
yeah, but once it got that much attention from like Luke Cornett and the NBA, everyone was like, "Oh, this is like a very special item right at this point." The NBA in a statement a couple of days ago said, "When we became aware of the Hawks scheduled promotion, said we reached out to the Hawks leadership to better understand their plans and rationale. While we appreciate the team's perspective and their desire to move forward, we have heard significant concerns from a broad array of league stakeholders, including fans, partners, and employees. I believe canceling this promotion is the right decision for the broader NBA community," Adam Silver said in a statement. And the Hawks, said they respected the decision, even though they weren't really happy with it or disappointed with it. So I'm kind of surprised this blew up the way it did. I really didn't think it was going to be this bad. I'm actually surprised how many people have actual opinions about this whole Magic City thing. I thought people were just firing off opinions about it. Like, did we really care about it that much? I don't know. I was surprised by that.
Future promotions, I think, are going to have to be watched very carefully because the Hawks are going to pinpoint any single thing that they think another team is doing that's controversial, and they're going to send it to the league office.
I saw the other day the Hawks announced that they were having a crowning courage party, which was presented by Crown Royal, and people on Twitter were like, "Well, is the league going to allow that? Alcohol is such a dangerous thing. So many people lose their lives or whatever." So people are already starting to have fun with this, but yeah, I thought it was absurd, and I definitely am surprised with how much attention it's gotten. Moving on to Jayson Tatum. Boston Celtics star Jayson Tatum has made his return to the court after missing 10 months with the Achilles tear. He returned Friday against Dallas Mavericks, has played in, I believe, 2 games. That game against 3 games, I believe. Sunday against the Cavs as well. And then I believe he played the other night against the San Antonio Spurs. He was part of the San Antonio Spurs game as well. Tatum's looked fantastic so far. He's looked outside of the first 6 or 7 minutes of that Dallas game, he's looked like himself. I mean, his first bucket was a putback dunk. He immediately on the next possession hit a step back 3. Crowd goes crazy. He's celebrating. It's good to have Jayson Tatum back, I'll say that. But Brett, what do you make of how Jayson Tatum has looked so far in his return to the court?
I watched that return game from start to finish. Watched again over just to nitpick and look at his defense, see how he's moving with his legs and whatnot. Early on, it was just nerves, and you could tell that he was just wanting to get that first basket in to have that sigh of relief. The crowd goes crazy in TD Garden, and it was one of those kind of going back to the whole Bam thing. It's one of those moments that you stop and you watch it, and you watch Jayson Tatum return. So I think all the pressure was on him until he finally settled in, and when he did, we saw vintage Jayson Tatum, all-star, all-NBA Jayson Tatum, knocking down shots, moving the ball, rebounding, getting the ball moving in transition. And so that's the Jayson Tatum that the Celtics are getting back. That's why they're legitimate title contenders once more, and we'll touch on that shortly. But just to have Jayson Tatum back in the fold, I think does numbers for the Celtics mentality, because it's not just Jaylen Brown anymore. You don't have to solely rely on Derek White and Peyton Pritchard to make shots. You're whole again, and you can finally have that sigh of relief where you have that security blanket in Jayson Tatum on the court. Obviously, we knew there was going to be some type of minutes restriction coming in. It seemed like that was going to be in the low 20s. Last 3 games, he's played a hard 27 minutes all 3 games. So that is where it's at right now. We'll see what happens week to week if they look to increase that at all. Maybe he gets 30 minutes. Maybe it goes up to 33 minutes by the end of the season. But strict 27 minutes right now, those 5-6 minute stints for him on the court. And that's really what Joe Mazzulla and this coaching staff is doing. But I've loved what I've seen from him so far. I think that he still has a ways to go to get to 100%, though. I don't think that he's moving as well on defense, but that's to be expected. Nobody thought that he would come back from Achilles surgery and be exactly what he was in that Knicks series and way before that. So still some ways to go, but I think that if you're a Celtics fan and you're a part of this organization, you have to be thrilled to see the type of production that he's giving you so far.
Yeah, normally we see guys take, about a year to get back to their full selves after an Achilles tear, an injury of that magnitude. ACL is kind of similar recovery. Guys take about a year to get to their full strength. In the first 3 games that he's played, Tatum's played, like you said, 27 minutes has been his minutes limit. He scored 15 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists in his first game, up that to 20 points in his second game, and had 24 points with 5 rebounds in 27 minutes against the Spurs the other night. So we're seeing Tatum, improve, get better, play better, and just look like himself. I think the first sign that he was feeling like himself, I thought that was awesome, was the dunk attempt he had in that first game. He jumped off one leg, came up short, to be expected, a little rusty, but that was just an awesome sight to see. That immediately told you that, wow, Tatum is feeling great. And so Boston, as we talked about, and they've won 2 of the 3 games that Tatum's played so far. They are now just 3.5 games back of the Detroit Pistons for the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. So they've clearly just gotten a new weapon here as they try to make a run here in the Eastern Conference. I think, he will miss Thursday's game against the Thunder. That is not a back-to-back. So I think obviously managing him will be important. You want him as healthy as possible and as ready as possible for the playoffs, starting about a month from a couple of days ago. So we're less than a month away from the playoffs. So time to get everyone 100%. So Tatum probably will be back on when they play Saturday against the Wizards. Great game for him to play against.
83 points for Jayson Tatum against the Wizards.
Yeah, as we just saw. No, Tatum's been fantastic. I very much look forward to see if the Celtics can actually steal the number 1 seed from the Pistons, because they've held this for what feels like the entire season. I mean, Detroit got off to a strong start to the year. Boston has been up and down a little bit to start the year, but they've been incredible in the last few months here. I think since December 20th, it's them, the San Antonio Spurs, and the LA Clippers with the best records. So clearly those 3 teams are playing really, really well. So I really want to see what a team like Boston can do over these final few weeks here as they try to secure a top seed. Because if they find a way to finish with the number 1 overall seed, after all that, they might just be the favorites. I really, it's that simple. You put that team with how they've kind of clicked over the year, adding Jayson Tatum kind of as like a free agent midseason with home court advantage through the East. That's just, I don't know what to say about that.
And it's going to kind of carry over into the next topic, but you look at the Celtics roster outside of Jayson Tatum, that's been the most impressive part, where you got Kata stepping up as the team's starting center. He's been fantastic during the second half of the year. Baylor Shireman is really coming into his own, and every time the ball hits his hands in the corner, it seems like it's a guaranteed 3-point shot for him. So those secondary guys are really stepping up, and it's not just Tatum, Brown, and Derek White. They have a legit 8, 9, 10-man rotation that is very reminiscent of that 2022 team that went on, or not 2022, 2024 team that went on to win a championship. So I think that the Celtics, obviously, many are looking at them as being the favorites in the East right now, even though the Pistons have led this from start to this point. And I think that if you're the Pistons, it just gives you more bulletin board material to kind of chase what you've been fighting for. And we've been saying on this show, Tomer, over the last few weeks that they play with a chip on their shoulder. I think that chip, it's just stacking. It's like a stack of Pringles on their shoulder now that are just getting bigger.
Nikola Vucevic will miss some time with I think he fractured his finger the other night against Boston in the game Tatum returned. So they'll be without him for a few weeks here. But I think the hope is that he'll be ready for the playoffs. But a big kind of blow to that bench. But they've had guys. I think Luka Garza has played really well in his absence. So that brings us, like you mentioned, to our next topic, which is the real title talk. Who are the real contenders in the NBA right now? It really seems like there's a handful. I know, usually we follow that 40 before 20 rule, 40 wins before 20 losses. Those teams usually make the finals, usually win a championship or get to the finals, I believe. And so the Spurs, and I believe the Thunder and the Pistons were the three to do it. I think the Celtics had 20 losses, but reached 40 wins before they had 21 losses. So, and they just added Jayson Tatum, which almost feels like you might want to just throw that kind of out the window because it's a brand new team, brand new roster right there. Brett, I'll start with you. Who are your kind of real contenders here in the? We'll start with the West. Who are your real contenders with the Western Conference as we kind of get to the final month here of the season?
We're going to be publishing a story very shortly on ClutchPoints, ranking the teams based on tiers of their title contending status. So definitely check that out very shortly. But Tomer, there are 4 teams in my mind right now that are actually competing for a championship. And these are the 4 teams I think one of them is going to win it this year. It's the Oklahoma City Thunder, the San Antonio Spurs in the West, and then in the East, the Detroit Pistons and the Boston Celtics. The list shouldn't surprise anybody. Those are basically the championship contenders everybody has right now, plus maybe a few more teams. But I'm stopping the list at those 4 teams right now because everybody below them has some type of concern. And at number 5 on my list would be the Denver Nuggets. The concern I have with them is since the first or second week of the season, we have not seen this team be 100%. One guy gets injured, comes back, and then another guy gets injured, takes his place on the injury report. We saw that with Aaron Gordon coming back. Jamal Murray twists his ankle. Nikola Jokic had his knee injury and he missed 16 games. You have Peyton Watson, who they're hoping will be back at some point at the end of this week, maybe early next week with his hamstring injury. But again, until we see this team at 100% and they can sustain health over a few weeks and heading into the playoffs, I just don't know how you can put them at the top of this list right now with the Spurs and the Thunder. So that's why I have them in a tier below. I could say the same thing about the Cleveland Cavaliers. Donovan Mitchell just came back from his soft tissue groin injury. James Harden has an ongoing broken thumb on his non-shooting hand, and you never know when that's going to flare up and become a problem. So that's my concern with the Cavs. And obviously the Knicks, we've touched on it before and through the weeks. I just don't trust this team, Tomer. I don't trust them in the later stages of the postseason because we see them when they go down in games, the heads start hanging low. They start feeling sorry for themselves. They're not taking opportunistic shots in high leverage situations. And so I think that's where the Knicks falls are. I think that's what could potentially hold them back in a series against the Pistons or the Celtics if they get down early and they're not resilient enough to fight back because Karl-Anthony Towns may be struggling and he starts settling for jumpers instead of using his size and his body to his advantage. I think that's where my biggest concern is with the Knicks. It's not only their inconsistencies, but also Karl-Anthony Towns' role. Can he be a true number 2 player on a championship contending team? And that's something that we're going to have to see in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree wholeheartedly with your list. It's not even a debate for me. I think Oklahoma City, I think, should be the favorites to repeat. They have not been whole most of the season, and they've looked fantastic. And the Sixers also gifted them a really, really good player in Jared McCain for some reason. So, we've seen the rise of AJ Mitchell this season. Jalen Williams has played really well in the absence of Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren in time. So that is a loaded team. And should be the favorites to repeat. I think the performance Shea put up the last couple of weeks against the Nuggets, especially, felt a little personal. Kind of cemented some MVP talks. I know Dort and Jokic got into it a couple times. So beyond the Thunder, though, like you said, the San Antonio Spurs, I think they're a team that does lack a little bit of experience. But I'm actually not even concerned about the experience factor with them because they have a lot of guys who I think have been in the league for a while. De'Aaron Fox. Devin Vassell's been there for a couple of years. Harrison Barnes, I know he's I think dealing with an ankle injury, but he's been in the league for a long time. And they also have a guy that the league has never seen in the postseason before, Victor Wembanyama. I don't think anyone knows how to prepare for that guy in a playoff setting. And I don't think anyone knows how the Spurs will prepare to use him in a playoff setting. And so there's so many variables with the San Antonio Spurs there that I almost like they're still figuring out how to play with each other too. Like this is De'Aaron Fox's first year with the Spurs. Dylan Harper's still a rookie. Steph Castle is still in the second year. Like there's so many things to look forward to with this team that I don't even know where to start. And so I'm very optimistic about the Spurs' future. They feel like the second team in the East, in the West by far. And then in the East, like you mentioned, Detroit Pistons, they've been great all year. I think they had a good year last year where they pushed the Knicks to 6, I believe. They lost on that Jalen Brunson game winner in Game 6. But they're a
Well,
team
they
that's
really lost that series when the refs completely botched a call on that Tim Hardaway 3, and they just didn't
yeah,
decide to call it. That's when the series really ended.
yeah. But the Pistons, they've shown growth. I think we've seen the MVP candidate in Cade Cunningham. Jalen Duren's taken another level. Added Duncan Robinson. They've had some shooting. They had a vet in Tobias Harris. Like they have all the pieces you would want in a championship contender. They have everything. They've had the early playoff exit. They've kind of learned from that. I believe they kind of learned from that last year. And so, and then the other team in the Eastern Conference is obviously the Boston Celtics. Very experienced. Been in the finals twice in the last 4 years now. They won in 2024. Probably should have won in 2022. If we're being honest, that was the better team. They should have won that series as well. And so, yeah, those 4 teams I think are the championship contenders. You talked about some of the East teams, but I'll talk about some of the West. Yeah, Denver, they've been really good. I think you can make a case that Jamal Murray having the best year of his career, possibly better than Jokic. This season, given Jokic's availability, I will say, like I think Jamal's been huge for them. I think he's had a number of 40-point games. I think they're undefeated when he scores 40.
And it's
Jokic
been one of his most healthy years of his career.
Yeah, Jokic is obviously the engine, the best player in the league by far, and fully capable of putting up monster nights, triple double nights, and leading them wins. But they seem like a team right now that goes as Jamal Murray goes. If he has a big night, they are not losing. It seems like, and so Jamal Murray's a big X factor for them. They haven't had Aaron Gordon for a lot of the year. Peyton Watson's been injured. Christian Brown's been injured. Like they've had so many injuries, as you mentioned. So a lot of things to figure out. But I will say, you just need to peak at the right time, and maybe that's the final 2 weeks of the season. Maybe starting April 1st, they start to trend in the right direction. They get healthy. That's all you need, really. We saw that last year with the Pacers. The Houston Rockets just, I mean, for lack of a better term, just incredibly mid. Like
it's a one-man team. It's a one-man team.
With Kevin Durant, I mean, Şengün has not been as good as I kind of would hoped he would have been. The team's reluctance to start Reed Shepherd, I think, is kind of holding them back as well. And they seem to be missing pieces in their roster. They just seem to have holes in their defense. The communication's been an issue. So they just don't seem like a real contender to me right now. The Lakers, I don't know if you can say they're contenders when they play their best basketball without LeBron James. For whatever reason, when Luka and Reeves play together, Austin Reeves play together, that's when they've been at their best. And so LeBron is obviously the best player, arguably the GOAT, depending on how you want to look at it. I don't know if you can make a case for, how can they play without him? Yeah, I think they need him, but they're also just not as good with him. So it's just definitely some things to figure out there for the Lakers. Outside of that, I really don't see any other like Minnesota's been up and down. I just don't see anyone else, honestly, in the West. So I agree with year 5. I think with year 4, excuse me. The Denver Nuggets might be able to sneak in there with some good basketball late. But it feels like those 4, really. And I think the Oklahoma City Thunder should be the favorites to repeat.
Completely agree. And that's going to kind of take us into our next topic with all the injuries. The Clippers. We'll talk about the injuries shortly. But those injury concerns that we're going to talk about, it's taken some teams out of contention. So I think that's kind of a big topic of discussion as well.
Yeah, before we get to the injuries, I do want to talk about the LA Clippers and their monster comeback. You see that record that says 32-32. They're actually 33-32. We didn't update it after the last win, but they are now over 500. They are the first team in NBA history to be 15 games under 500 and then go up over 500 in the same season. Just truly a remarkable comeback. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, since December 20th, when they started their run at 6-21, they've been the second or third best team in the league. Actually, second. It's San Antonio with 27 wins and the Clippers with 26 wins, I believe. So it's been those 2 teams. Clippers have been the best team, second best team since then. And a lot of that is due to Kawhi Leonard. He's been healthy, he's been available, and he's been an absolute monster. I think this is easily his best year of his career scoring wise. I saw a stat the other day that a number of players have had their career years scoring in their 13th season. Lou Williams, former Clipper, being one of them. No one's done it in their 14th season. And Kawhi Leonard in his 14th season is putting up career highs. He's doing it in borderline 50, 40, 90 numbers. He's just been phenomenal. And so it's kind of hard to look at this Clippers team right now because they're still figuring out who they are too. I mean, they just added Darius Garland, just came back last week. Benedict Mathurin's trying to find his way on the rotation. Yannick Niederhauser, the rookie, very promising rookie, suffered a season-ending Lisfranc foot injury, and now Isaiah Jackson is playing his minutes. So it feels like, Brett, honestly, it feels like this Clipper season has been like five seasons combined. I'm not gonna lie to you. It feels like Chris Paul was on this team at some point. I can't even remember that.
Bradley Beal was on that team at some point.
Yeah, it's just been such a long season. What do you make of the Clippers and their kind of run here to get back over 500?
Look, I think it's great. I think that it's a story that's not getting enough attention in the league right now, obviously being overshadowed by Bam's 83, Tatum coming back, and just the Clippers, no one really looking at them as a championship contender or a playoff contender. But that's a team that no one's going to want to see in a first-round series, whether they make it from the play-in tournament, if they somehow jump up to the 6. I don't see that happening. But let's say they earn that 7 seed and they play either the Thunder or the Spurs in the first round. Either one of those teams is going to have their hands full, not only because of Kawhi Leonard, but I think that Benedict Mathurin has fit in really well with the Clippers. I think that he's going to be a really good, young, dynamic player for them for a long time. And then obviously Darius Garland, he's a guy that's been in the playoffs multiple times before. He knows what it takes to win, and he's a guy that can hold down the fort at that point guard position. So I like what the Clippers are doing defensively. I love what I'm seeing from Kawhi Leonard and that he's actually healthy and playing late in the season. So I think that if you're a Clippers fan, you have to be just optimistic, and you're playing with house money at this point. Nobody expected you to be in this spot, and now you're going to have a chance to make the playoffs, and who knows, maybe you can make some noise and extend a series to 6 or 7 games in the first round. And you put Kawhi Leonard in a game 7, no matter who it's against, whether it's the Thunder, the Lakers, the Spurs, Nuggets, I don't care. If he's in a game 7, it's going to be very hard not to choose him in that scenario.
Yeah, the Clippers have one of the easier remaining strengths of schedules. They also have the most rest advantage games over their opponents. So 33 and 32 right now, but a very real chance to get to 40 wins, a very real chance to get to like 42 or even 43 wins. The Phoenix Suns are in the 7th seed right now, and they are 5 games up on them with that season series going 2-2. So probably not going to catch the Suns for the 7th seed, but in that 7-8 game, again, anything can happen. We've seen one guy get hot in a 9-10 game, advance to the 7-8 game, and then win that game as well. So anything can happen in that scenario. You really don't want to put yourself in that scenario. So the Suns actually have a chance to actually get out of the plane right now. They're just one game back in the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets. They have Suns have one more loss than those guys, and then seeds 3 through 6, the Rockets, Lakers, Nuggets, and Timberwolves all have 40 wins right now. So this is a very, very loaded and packed Western Conference. This is going to flip multiple times over the next few weeks. And we're going to be I have a feeling we're going to be looking at a lot of tiebreakers very, very soon here. So, but yeah, the Clippers have been playing great basketball. Very excited to see what they can do moving forward here as a first team to get over 500 after being 15 under. That was a miserable start to the year, Brett. I'm not going to lie to you. We were contemplating a lot of different things at that point.
You were saying the season was over after like the 3rd or 4th week.
I mean, teams that go down 6-21, their season usually is over. So, yeah, it's been impressive. Moving on to our last topic of the day, as Brett mentioned, just an injury roundup around the league. Let's start. Who do you want to start with, Brett? Let's
start with the 76ers of a team whose season is actually over at this point. And the 76ers,
the Philadelphia's
Joel Embiid, he's out with his oblique injury. You have Tyrese Maxey is out with his finger injury. Kelly Oubre, lat strain or something like that. I don't really know what his injury is, but he's out for 2 to 3 weeks. Shoulder, yeah. Who knows? He's out. That's all that matters. And then Paul George, he's suspended. I don't know exactly the date he's supposed to come back. I think end of the season-ish.
Yeah, close. I think he has 7 or 8 more games left, I think.
They're done. They've sunk to the play-in tournament. They have nothing going for them. They have no one that can score anymore because they gave Jared McCain away for a box of Cracker Jacks to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And now they have nobody that can score on this team other than Quentin Grimes. And he alone cannot carry this team out of the play-in tournament. And that's why they're basically tanking at this point. I don't know. They can't tank even because they owe their pick to the Thunder. And that's the comical thing about it. They gave them Jared McCain, and they're giving them probably what's going to be a lottery pick.
Yeah, right now the 76ers, 35 and 30, have fallen to the 8th seed. They are only a game and a half back of Orlando for 5, but they're also just 2 games back of the Charlotte Hornets for 10. And Charlotte's been playing great basketball. Atlanta Hawks have quietly won 7 games in a row. I don't know if people have talked about that. The Hawks have won 7 games in a row, and they are just 1 game back of the Sixers for the 8th seed. So
Yeah, but we
a
know
lot
how
of
this goes.
tiebreak.
The Hawks, they might as well rename the Eastern Conference playing tournament after Atlanta because we know that they're going to be in there. They could win every game for the rest of the season, and they're probably still going to be in the play-in tournament. Even though they're close, I get it. They're close in the standings. They've been playing great basketball. I love what I'm seeing from them. But the Atlanta Hawks are a destined play-in team that's not going to change in my mind.
I feel like the Eastern Conference playing team is just some variation of Atlanta, Chicago, and Miami. The last since they started it, actually, it's just been Chicago, Atlanta, Miami. Um, Yeah, but Philadelphia, like you mentioned, in trouble. I mean, they will have no Joel Embiid for the foreseeable future, no Tyrese Maxey for the foreseeable future. Definitely begs the question: what are they going to do? Because their best scorer, at least in portions that we saw last year, with Jared McCain, it was traded for pretty much nothing. And now they just have no options. They have no options. Like even Paul George at this stage, when he comes back, you expect him to drop 25 points a game? I don't think he can still do that at this age.
Well, do they have the
And
Wizards
so
on their schedule? If they
they
got the
probably do.
Wizards, Paul George could go for 85 maybe. Maybe he becomes the second highest score ever.
Moving on to the Los Angeles Lakers, another team dealing with injuries of late, mainly to LeBron James. We talked about it earlier, but LeBron's dealing with, I think it was a foot injury. He's dealing with arthritis. He had the elbow injury as well against I want to say it was against the Nuggets, if I'm not mistaken. Lakers are going through right now with LeBron, but they're continuing to win. I think the Lakers now have won 3 games in a row. They have the 40-25 record. Again, we mentioned earlier they're playing well without LeBron James. So, what I'm just confused as to what to make of them because LeBron's just not a guy you're going to hold out of the lineup when he's healthy. So, what do you even make of the Lakers with LeBron's injury?
Well, right now he's questionable to play against, I think it's the Chicago Bulls tonight. His
Yeah,
status
Chicago.
hasn't changed. They haven't updated it. He's probably going to be a game time decision in their minds, and we'll see what happens. But Tomer, I'll tell you this. This is where I'm going to leave it at with the Lakers. They're horrible defensively, no matter if he plays or not, even though they've been a little bit better the last 2 games, and we'll give them credit for that. JJ Redick has said how great they've been the last 2 games. That's great. That's not going to continue heading into the playoffs. They are what they are, and we've seen the product over these 60 whatever games that they've played right now. But you can't not play LeBron. I understand that you're a better team without him, but he needs to play for this team to even be in title contention status. It's not going to happen. They're not a title contending team. But in that hypothetical world that a lot of Lakers fans want to live in, for this team to potentially win in the playoffs, you need LeBron next to Luka and Austin Reeves. And when you have that, we've seen what happens. They're not good defensively. The ball movement is kind of stagnant. You got 5 guys just kind of standing around, and one of them has the ball and is just giving a lot of juke moves before they pull up for 3. So I don't know about the Lakers at this point. I think that their record is inflated, and it's a lot better than the team actually is. And I think that we're going to see that when they run into a first round series. I feel very comfortable and confident saying that they will not win a first round series.
If you put the Houston Rockets and the LA Lakers in the playoff series, who wins that?
Next question.
Both teams who I fully expect to be first round exits.
Yeah, I don't know. That they may need a historic 8th game for that.
Talk about Steph Curry. He's going on over a month now, missing action with a runner's knee. I think the Warriors put out an update the other day that he's going to be reevaluated in 7 to 10 days. Where's Steph Curry in his recovery as the Warriors? They continue to falter. They're now the 9th seed, in the Western Conference, with a 32-33 record.
Yeah, so Steph Curry, the injury update that we got yesterday from the Warriors is that he will miss the next 10 days, meaning he will be out their next 5 games, and his injury absence continues after he had that knee injury on January 30th. It was downplayed by the team, saying nothing is serious. It was just runner's knee. Well, it seems like there's probably something more going on there, whether it's arthritis or something else in his knee. He's now going to be out through March 20th. That they begin a 6-game road trip starting on this Sunday, I believe. They go to New York, and then they're going to play a bunch of East Coast teams. But Steph out in the next 10 days, out the next 5 games. What does this mean for him towards the end of the season? Well, he still wants to return this year and play before the playoffs or play in. And the Warriors want him back, and they need him back because this team is just not good without him. And especially without Jimmy Butler, they don't have any alpha that can take over and score on this team. They have really good role players, really good secondary players, and I'll continue to say that. I think that the Warriors' depth is top 5 in this league. But the problem is they don't have another pure scorer in terms of their depth. It's guys that fit Steve Kerr's system and are made to play around Stephen Curry. When you take him out of the equation, you take Jimmy Butler out of the equation, you're left with what we've seen from the Golden State Warriors, and that's nothing more than a lottery-looking team at this point. But Steph Curry, he does want to return before the end of the season, and I've heard that there's optimism looking at that Saturday, March 21st game, right after that 10-day window. That's kind of when things open up of when he could potentially return. We'll see if he travels on this 6-game road trip because that'll be very telling whether or not he can. But I've been told that that Wednesday, March 25th game, which begins 7 of their last 10 at home, that's really the game that's probably the end period of this timeline. So we're looking at the Hawks to the Nets. Somewhere in there, I would expect Stephen Curry to be back out on the court.
Good intel from Brett there on Steph hopefully returning this month. Sorry, I was looking at some other injury updates. Jalen Williams from the Oklahoma City Thunder. Again, he came back from the hand injury. He's had a couple of hamstring issues. Um, I'm almost tempted to say I don't think they need to see him in the regular season. You want to make sure he's 100% right. But that being said, I don't know. Do you feel like you need to see him in the regular season at this point?
No, but I think that it would be good to get him some reps in the regular season just to test that hamstring out because you don't want to throw him into 38 minutes of playoff basketball
Right.
for his first game back. So I think for that sake, they're probably going to look to bring him back during the last week of the season. But I don't necessarily want to see him back because AJ Mitchell's been playing great.
Right.
Aaron Wiggins
Right.
has been playing great. Isaiah Joe has been playing great. So all these guys that are stepping up and delivering, it just goes to show how deep the Thunder actually are. So many people talk about how it's just Shea, Jalen Williams, and Chet. This team won a championship last year. Yeah, those guys helped, but it was because of their depth, because of everybody that stepped up around them and to be able to guard multiple positions and to limit what the Pacers were doing in the NBA Finals. So I think that for that sake, my selfish sake, I don't want to see Jalen Williams back just because AJ Mitchell has been balling out. But obviously, the Thunder do need him back before the end of the year just to see where he's at.
Yeah, Jalen Williams has only played 26 games this season for the Thunder, averaging 17 points. He is averaging career high 5.4 assists, which is obviously a positive as far as his playmaking goes, but he's got to be available. As we know in the playoffs, availability is huge. Sometimes you need a little bit of health luck, and so we'll see if the Thunder can kind of get that heading in the playoffs. The last player I personally had to discuss, but I don't know if you had anyone else you want to discuss, was Pacers center Ivica Zubac, who is expected to return sometime in the very near future here. He was upgraded to questionable for Thursday night's game against the Phoenix Suns, I believe, started their homestand. Zoo could very well be back. I know the Pacers have been taking it very, very carefully with him and his ankle injury, but he's the guy who could be back here. Does that mean anything, Brett, that Zoo could return here this season?
No, because he's probably going to play 20 minutes tops, and then they're going to pull him and sit him on the bench and lose more games because the Pacers want the top pick. And right now, I think it's a 52.6% chance that they get it. And then other than that, it goes to the Clippers. So that's really the battle that the Pacers are playing right now. They want to finish with the worst record in the league so they have the best chance to get the number 1 pick.
Yeah, and I think they too currently have the worst record in the league right now. So we'll see what happens there. But I think Ivica Zubac's expected to play at some point this season, as soon as tonight against the Suns.
Last one I'll quickly touch on, Anthony Davis. All indications are that he does want to play this year, and the Wizards want to see him on the court at least for one game. And I'd be very optimistic about his chances returning early April. Maybe one of those last few games in March, but I think early April is what we're looking at. And we'll see Trae Young and Anthony Davis maybe play 1 or 2 games together. So, hey, it's something for the Wizards other than giving up 80-plus points to guys.
Look at that. We started with Bam's 83, and we end with another 83 reference. As usual, Tomer Azarly here, Brett Siegel. Depending which way you look at. Brett Siegel here as well. Thank you guys for joining, and we will see you guys next time.